Next up is an executive from a company that was met with an unexpected but positive change. Leading health insurance company Oscar saw historic membership growth at the beginning of 2022 when the membership base on their technology platform doubled to over 1 million members in less than 2 months. How did they handle it? You're about to find out. Please welcome to the stage Celine Vitale and Stefana Muller.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Celine Vitale, and I am a part of the consulting org. And I'm here with Stefana Muller from Oscar Health.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone in person.
First, we're going to kick things off with a little video about Oscar Health and why they came to monday.com.
Oscar is the first health insurance company built around a full-stack technology platform and a relentless focus on serving our members.
My first day as a technical program manager, I was like, why do we have so many spreadsheets? But I think the complexity started to really become apparent when working on my first program that spanned across our entire company and several different work streams. We'd have a program document, and then each work stream would have its own document, and none of them were connected or formatted consistently. And there was a lot of manual labor in order to pull reporting information for leadership.
Mandy had to coordinate dependencies between 45 separate pods manually. And keep in mind, we have over 400 people in our engineering and tech organization who are all doing work in different places.
As a program manager, that causes a lot of anxiety. I knew we needed to find a better solution.
Well, that is one of my favorite videos. Stefana and I have worked together for the past 2 years, so it's only fitting that we got to dive into this today. So sounds like you had a lot of data in a lot of places that were not Monday. So I know you were looking to centralize those, and being the executive in your specific space for tech and engineering, what was your biggest feat coming into Monday? I know initially it was the roadmap. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, Celine, you know the story, so I'll talk to the audience here about all of our stories of adoption of a new tool, 45 different spreadsheets, 45 different product managers, all wanting different data. However, I have an executive staff that wants to understand our objectives and key results that do not map to the 45 different teams and so on and so forth. So the interesting challenge we had is everyone wants something in their roadmap. Everyone wants to track different data. We needed a way to templatize this information. In addition to that, the data was static in the spreadsheets. And it was, what did Erica say earlier? Old as soon as it was sent out. So the big challenge there was to make sure that we can get data into a location that we can action that data immediately. And that's where we chose Monday and started moving people in. I think the biggest challenge, though, after we started moving people in was getting them to actually touch the tool. So this is the fun part, though. Once they started touching the tool and using it, they realized it wasn't that big of a deal. I have my team in the back now, and I'm looking at them. Yes, they did have to go in and put data into a different spreadsheet-looking tool and realize that they now can actually attach people to these line items and so on and so forth. This was enabling for many teams.
Yeah, that's an absolutely incredible story, getting your team involved, and they're a pleasure to work with back there. But not only your team, but you mentioned the executives as well. So I know your CEO, Mario, is also a fan of monday.com and is actually utilizing it. Can you tell us how it is watching him use a platform from the CEO level?
Well, let's start with I didn't know he had access to the platform, okay? So interestingly enough, we have a monthly roadmap review. Now we can actually do that because we know where they are, in case anyone was wondering. But those teams all go through their monthly roadmap, and it's an executive review. Our CEO, CFO, and so on and so forth are in that meeting and want to know what the high-level key points they should understand. My favorite part was a few weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago now, Mario opened up the monday.com dashboard and said, can I click on it here, live on the roadmap review with every executive on the call, holding their breath, wondering what he's going to click on next. Long story short, he was using the tool to figure out what was happening in the business in real time. And we didn't know he was using the tool. We just simply added it to a spreadsheet, not a spreadsheet, I'm sorry, to the PowerPoint that we were preparing for him. He wasn't using the PowerPoint. He was using the live tool. And this was just telling, right? Having an executive who wants to get the data in their hands, readily available. He's that type of hands-on executive. He's an engineer like the executives at monday.com. So it was really important to him to do it himself. I know that seems silly, but as many of us know, we don't want to wait for a report. So it was really one of my favorite stories to tell because I had no idea he had access, and suddenly he just opened it up.
And that's super important to make sure that everything was in that dashboard for Mario. So when he did click in front of the stakeholders, they got what they needed. So we know putting together those dashboards can take days, sometimes longer, making sure that you're getting the correct information in there. And with Mario being in there on a daily basis, ultimately, what was it able to do to the speed and efficiency of your reporting to make sure that when he does click, it's completely updated?
Well, every time we get out of these roadmap reviews, we know that there's 20 more metrics they want, right? The idea is the executive team sees that we have data now, that we can actually generate that information almost on the fly, and they want more, which is great, but that means I need to gather the subset of data, talking about the database level here, from 45 different teams, right? And making sure that they all feed in the metrics or measures that we need to roll up the dashboard. One of the things that we've been using in monday.com recently is the templating feature so that we can roll up that data in a structured way and not cater to everyone's needs, if you would, but get the data to the executives quickly. This helped us during many of our scalability exercises in the past few years.
Absolutely, and talking a little bit more about scalability, Oscar has been with Monday for 2+ years, and they have 2,000 users on the platform, which is their entire organization. So making sure that it's touching every facet of Oscar Health is super important. Now, I do want to shift gears a little bit, knowing that everyone is in the platform, but what you had coming down the pipe was something you could not prepare for. So your membership grew by 500,000 plus users within 2 months. That led to Operation Puck. Now, for the audience, can you tell us a little bit about Operation Puck, and first off, where it got its name?
So I'd like to give you a little bit of context of our naming of our project first. The Oscar Health company started in a building called the Puck Building in New York City. Anyone from the area understand where Puck Building is? Okay. Interestingly enough, we were having hockey stick growth. Okay. Everyone's getting it now. So we started Project Puck. The thing that happened is, if you know the healthcare industry, or if you don't, we have a segment of our time around early October all the way through January, and sometimes past January, called open enrollment. That's when everyone enrolls into their health insurance. I know those folks who are not from the US will probably wonder, why do you have to do that? Yes, we agree, but unfortunately we can't disrupt the industry that much in our first few years being a health insurer. But one thing that's important to note is that sometimes you don't know how many members are going to sign up. We had exponential growth. We weren't expecting it. We were expecting maybe around 800,000 members. And that's how much our application could scale to. We said 800,000, that's all we're gonna get this year. We saw numbers coming in the first few weeks that indicated over 1.2 million members. And that was terrifying, but also exciting. And that's the start of Operation, or rather Project Puck.
Awesome. Project Puck is definitely something that Monday loves hearing about, since it was one of the biggest projects that we were able to help with. How did you even go about tackling that? And ultimately, what was the first step that you took within Monday to start handling that influx of individuals?
So like we said, interestingly enough, there's tons of work to do across a company if you have that type of growth. My area was very specific to infrastructure application scale. I work in the tech area. I also had to make sure our IT scaled for the many new employees we had to onboard. Remember, we're a health insurer, so we have to pick up the phone and help people. We had to onboard them. In addition to that, we had to make sure that we scaled our vendor licensing. I know that that seems crazy, but basically, if we were going to double our membership, we needed to make sure every vendor was tracked and we had licenses for those from those vendors. So those are the 3 areas I had to focus on, but the rest of the company had to scale as well. Our providers, our brokers, our concierge team that picks up the phone, like I had mentioned, all of them had portions of this project to organize, and an executive team that was kind of breathing down our neck. I'm sorry, I keep looking at the executive team here, but kind of breathing down our neck going, are we gonna be ready? Are we going to be ready? Are we okay? And that was a lot of pressure. The way we used monday.com, I'm gonna try to drive to the answer to your question, because I wanted to paint the picture first, but the way we used monday.com was initially, I started just tracking a list of things that we needed to get done and assigning people to them. One of the things I had to track was applications. Remember those 45 pods? Talk about 300 applications that needed to scale out of those 45 pods. Not only that, when was the last time we did scale testing? Anyone in the back? No? Okay, we don't remember. So, so we're going to do scale testing right now, and we have 2 months to do it in. And that's how I started the project planning in monday.com.
That is something that we have not seen done. I know Jordan and I work with you on a daily basis, making sure that things like that can happen. So it's interesting to hear it from the very beginning. What were some of the areas that the key executive leadership needed in that reporting, knowing that you were scaling so fast? It was the first time you were doing it within your organization. What did they need?
So, like I had mentioned earlier, one of the key things they kept asking is, are we ready? Are we ready? And what we ended up doing as a daily stand-up with the executive team, was that productive? No. We wanted to reduce these meetings. We wanted to give them a dashboard. We wanted to give them the data at their fingertips. And one of the key things they kept asking was, what is the risk? Are we at a high risk, medium risk, low risk? Can I get a chart? I know that seems very basic, but I had each of those, like I said, 45 teams assess their risk. And it was a 2-hour exercise for the entire company. They just basically do it 2 hours, assess your risk, put a data point in there. And my favorite part was using a template for that risk level so that I could define the risk level so nobody had like high, medium, low, medium, extra medium. You know, they would actually use the data points that we were looking for and the definitions we were looking for. That helped immediately give visibility into the higher risk areas. And that spread across all of our initiatives, not just my infrastructure scale initiative, but all of the different initiatives were using the same template. And again, that rolled up to that executive report, reducing meetings, thank goodness, but also allowing the teams to work independently. I also want to point out that we were all remote during this time, right? And we still are. We are a remote-first organization. So while having the dashboards is great in the office, it's also even more important remotely to keep the team engaged, working extra hours to make sure things were happening, understanding that their stuff needs to be due when it's due. I think that really helped get everyone on the same page and momentum moving at the lowest levels, at the team level, and then all the way up at the executive level.
That's amazing. So taking those benefits and making sure it hits every area of the business. So I want to dive into the dynamic functionalities of your Monday reports, knowing how important they were, knowing they touched every piece of the organization. Can you tell us a use case that was able to show exactly what you as an organization needed for that project?
So I can give you a few examples of some of the automation work that we did. One was email alerts. Those are simple. Does everyone look at email? No, but they do look at Slack. And being a tech organization, we use Slack heavily. It's actually where everyone is all day. Interestingly enough, we were able to connect the Monday boards to the Slack channels to remind people to update their status so that when we walked into our stand-up meeting, The data was already there, and I'm not sitting there being the note taker. Okay, drop down, select medium risk. But that data was already there and readily available, allowing us to take action during the meeting instead of just report during the meeting. I think that was a key way to alert team members to get their stuff in order. In addition to that, we did some other work to send an executive dashboard to our executive team on a regular basis, again, so they wouldn't request another meeting, but also so that they got the data right to them, similar to your Monday mornings idea for this session. Like I said to you, one of the key things is that the data was no longer static, that the data was available to churn in any way you'd like. You can use it whichever way you needed to, and you didn't have to wait for someone to give you permission to do it.
Perfect. We love to hear that. I think making sure that you are getting everything that you need from it, but the automations are also doing it for you. So making things a bit easier, getting them to the people that need them. I know also your board of directors is included in this Monday roll-up and reporting. So knowing that it's something that they needed access to, what did that reporting look like directly in the platform?
Now, during this time, you talk about high risk, hockey stick growth, all this stuff. The board of directors in our first year of being a public company was extremely concerned, right? They wanted to be more involved. They're more of an active board. They're watching very closely how we're scaling. They're being briefed on a regular basis by our CEO. We needed to give them the data as well. And I actually wasn't in the meeting, but I realized that they were taking screenshots, by the way, of the monday.com dashboards and putting it into the decks for the board. I think that's what triggered Mario to start using Monday directly, because he realized those screenshots weren't clickable. But I think that's a key point. When you're able to roll up that data, and it's actual metrics that are daily or hourly, it becomes real. It's no longer, I have to wait a quarter to see what's going on, especially when you have 2 months to secure your growth, right?
Yeah, making sure you're on that 2-month time track. That's something I'm sure not all of us are familiar with, but you guys were able to get it done, and we were, of course, happy to be a part of it. Now, not only having those roll-up reports, but having data from all areas of the business, how has that been able to be a benefit for the Oscar Health organization, keeping everything in one central location?
So I mentioned earlier that we were going through this big growth effort, but there's regular business that has to happen all year round to keep a health insurance company running. I'm on the tech side and more focused on building great product, exciting new features, but I also need to do the needful, as my team would say. You have to make sure that your compliance work is done. Every state in the United States can audit us at any time. It's something fancy called market conduct compliance. My favorite part about it is they ask the same questions, but in different ways. And interestingly enough, we have a market conduct compliance team that reaches out to me, for example, in the tech world, every day with another audit asking the same question in a different way. We started creating a database of answers in monday.com, so they no longer had to do that. And so instead of they create a board. The board assigns all the people automatically. We know exactly who the key expert is, and they have the copy of the answer from the last audit. How awesome is that? Right? My favorite part is they do add automations with due dates and reminders and meeting schedules and so on, because we're on a tight timeline with these audits. But I think the thing is we reduced rework significantly across the board because every department is involved in these audits. So, and it's also not value add, right? It's not value add. So we don't want to spend a lot of time on them. We just want to repeat the answers correctly.
Absolutely, and knowing that you have overcome your challenges within Monday from your initial task, and now you're continuing to use Monday for new challenges, new growth. What advice would you provide to executives here or in the Monday universe that would really benefit them from using the platform?
I think the thing that we didn't anticipate with Monday that we ended up getting a benefit of is everyone adopting. Like I mentioned earlier, you know this, early on, we have 400 people in the tech team. We bought 400 licenses of monday.com. everyone adopted it. Everyone realized we had access and they wanted in. They realized that it was a tool that they can use to automate some of their work. And it was HIPAA compliant. Sorry, that was a big deal for our business, especially since it's very difficult to use SaaS software in healthcare. The long story short, I think getting everyone involved and allowing them to start using the platform has enabled more and more automations, more and more executive dashboards, more and more insights into our business than we ever had before. I think as an advice to everyone is allow the team to explore. They will show you what you can get out of the platform. You don't have to dictate it.
I could not agree more. I think pushing that adoption, as you know, and your organization is a testament to it, has only benefited not only you, but the entire organization. So I want to thank you so much for being such an amazing partner of Monday, a client, and for joining us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.